Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's look at your list and let's start there. The foundation of health, what we consume. Health starts with what we put into our bodies and minds. What we consume shapes our psychological and emotional states, our spiritual connection, our ability to process, act, and relate. We are mentally overstimulated and physically undernourished.
So that's basically health. It's how we it's more than just what we eat. It's literally everything we consume, like visually, mentally, physically. And it obviously starts with the food we put, especially in the Western world. At least it affects everyone, but I think the Western world more than others, where, we do have a health crisis. And when health, it's not just physical. We're talking about mental, emotional, physical. We're very detached. So like when we talk about health, we need to acknowledge it's really what we consume, and it starts with what we put in our bodies. So, when it comes to food, the main issues is we overconsume and we're putting food that's ultra processed with ingredients we can't even pronounce. And it's
Yeah, it's crazy.
also in the health, the health food stores, same thing. Like it's a problem because there's also too much information. So it's hard to determine what's true and what's not because you go on social media or anywhere, one person says, do this, it's healthy. The second you scroll down, you have something else saying the opposite. And at the
Bro,
end
oh
of the
my
day,
God. Paul Saladino, you know that guy? I always joke about it with Jen,
bro,
my friend. The guy, every day he posts a video of if you're doing this, it's bad. Everything's bad. Breathing oxygen is bad. I swear he made a video about it. It gets too much. It gets too much.
much, but
Yeah.
awareness is key. Definitely, we have to be aware of what's happening. But yeah,
Like big time. Like I stopped. It's like, okay, I stopped like getting like snacks. I think like naturally, I was like, okay, I don't know. I don't want to eat like Doritos. Like whenever now I'm like obviously hyper aware and I like, do a lot of like meditation and I'm already aware of it. And I find like I'll eat a Dorito and I already feel like my body's like sluggish in processing it.
exactly.
But then people go to Whole Foods or they go to like a health store and they're paying more and they think they're getting healthy stuff. But then you do some
Yeah,
research and it's like, okay, no, wait, no, there's like seed oils and now they're using this. And sometimes they sneak
exactly.
in. I find so many brands use like natural flavor to like sneak in ingredients. And then you read like in the US, there's an app. I forgot what the name is, but it's super interesting. It's called Yuka, YUK. Like for instance, like I scanned here, yeah, like I was looking for like a protein bar and like here I scanned this one and it says like 75% health and it tells you what's inside of it. Like why is it not healthy? This one, it has like a lot of good about it, but this protein bar had a bit too much calories for like the composition of it. But then it shows like another one. Bro, the package, this is all Whole Foods. The packaging looks amazing. It's like super healthy, looks nice and clean. It says on it like organic, everything. But then you see it's like there's 12 additives inside of it. And one's high risk, 5 are limited risk, and 6 are risk free. Then you read it, and then it's like sucralose. This sweetener could be associated with increased developing of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, chronic inflammation, and other metabolic disorders. And like, there's so many things, when they put like red 40 and stuff like that, like the colors,
Yeah, oh my God.
like food
Yeah,
coloring. I was reading up on like one of the food colorings. If you have ADHD, it like heightens your ADHD
oh
issues.
my God.
Like if you have like an illness or like a disease or a disorder, it like inflates it. So like someone who's healthy, they can drink it
Exactly.
and they're fine. But someone who has like something like who has like concentration issues, if you start drinking Coke, it's gonna make your concentration issues worse because of the food coloring that's in it. Like specifically, that food coloring causes that.
Yeah. And that's just one ingredient of food
So yeah,
coloring.
it's
Imagine
crazy.
all
It's
the
like you're
other terrible things.
exactly. That's like not even counting the sugar and yeah, yeah. It's crazy.
It's
But
scary,
like I
so
find
that's even in a health food truck.
yeah. Let me just see something. My MacBook is low battery. Let me just see something. One sec.
Yeah, no worries.
Yo, do you hear me? Just fix my thing. Yo, Levy, do you hear me? Hello? Hey, Levy, do you hear me? Hello? Yo, Jeller, do you hear me? Hello, Jeller?
Yo, you hear me?
I hear you, but do you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I hear you.
Okay, perfect. I was like tripping out there. Okay, so just going back to that. I find like
Technology, man.
Yeah, it's like yeah, big time. No, but like with like food, I saw this podcast the other day, like a clip, and I thought it was so interesting because what was that guy's name? Like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Someone was talking to him about like food, and he was like oh like healthy food and everything. And he was like, like before 1870, the average life expectancy was 35, and now we live to like now our life expectancy is like much higher. And he's like, back then it was only raw organic food, there was nothing processed. So I found that like it was like a funny point that he made.
Interesting. Oh, you hear me? Check,
Yeah,
check.
I hear you. Do you hear me good?
Okay. Camera. I hear you. The camera is fizzling out a bit, but what's going on?
So yeah, we can turn off the camera. Let's try it without the camera. Maybe it'll help with the like your.
Yeah. I mean, we can do just
Yo, we
audio
could
for
turn off
now,
the
I
camera to
guess.
help with the connection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
let's
do I
do
do that? I
just audio.
click the. Okay. Okay. Perfect.
There's a button called cam. Yeah. Like
Yeah. Yeah. I got it.
visual like just takes a lot of like, energy. Okay, but you hear me now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. I hear you.
Okay. But yeah, that was like an interesting point that he said.
Yeah.
Like
The food.
for
I
sure, it
mean,
has to do
it's
with like
you know.
medication, but yeah, like food is a bit different.
I mean, food is medicine. Like literally, it starts with food, and food is medicine. It's just everything is ultra processed and induced with chemicals, we can't even pronounce on labels, and that's the same chemicals we use in construction, sadly, that it has an effect on our mental health, physical, emotional, and it's everywhere. So I think the biggest issue is we eat too much too. Like if you look at people in the 40s, 50s, like talking 67 years ago ish, they were smaller people and they were eating like just more whole foods that were not processed. It's a big problem today. People are always talking about diet, like this diet, that diet, keto, animal, carnivore, vegan, all these different diets. I think, the most important is just whatever whatever diet you follow, right? It has to work for your lifestyle and your financial ability too.
For
Like
sure.
if you have a big family, it has to work for you. But I think we can all agree it really comes down to not eating processed foods and just eating more balanced meals and not eating processed foods because you know, it was an interesting study done on different tribes and what they ate. And like example, someone who lived all the way north, like Arctic, right? Arctic areas, they consumed a lot of fish and fats from seals and whales and fish. And like they had very little health problems. And also other tribes, in the Amazon forest. Like what do all these people have in common? It doesn't matter if they were vegan, pescatarian, whatever, is that they just didn't eat processed foods. They just ate whole foods. And I think that's important. So whatever diet you follow has to work for you. We have to eat less and get connected more to nature and just be more mindful what we eat, how much we eat. And yeah, I think awareness is the key in like just being aware what's in our food because it is medicine. That's the number one medicine is what we eat.
Like I read so many like articles on this, and I remember seeing this book, like reading this book. The name was something like How Not to Die. Oh yeah, that's the book, How Not to Die.
What a title.
Like yeah, How Not to Die by Michael Greger. Like I remember like I was like listening to his YouTube videos like during COVID, I remember specifically. And he just shares like all these like really like like when it comes to like research studies, the best is when it's like a double blind test that has like a certain number of patients over a certain number of years. So he
Right.
only
Yeah.
reviewed like top research. Like he only looked at studies that they use like the top and strictest requirements, and it always showed like someone it's like people have cancer, people that switch to like a all veggie like vegan, like a pure vegan diet with vegetables only, it like cures their cancer. Like a lot of them healed from it. Like it reversed the cancer, it reverses diseases. So I mean, he's also still one of those people that are like eggs are bad, meats are bad, chicken's bad, like everything's bad
Everything's
except
bad.
veggies. Like that's his
Ah,
opinion. Like everything's bad except vegetables, and it has to be organic vegetables. Like there's so much details, but like I remember reading that, and I remember seeing how much like food is impactful. But then you have like I find like the deeper level is like for instance me, just because like I'm more lean on the loony spiritual side, it's like a lot of issues happen to be like emotional issues like of unprocessed stuff that like gets stored in your body. And like I remember hearing it from someone, but yeah, like in a way it gets stored in a certain area of your body and it just stays there and builds up. Like let's say anger, it's like if anger is like unprocessed, like if you find yourself like, okay, there's situations that you're aware that it makes you angry, but let's say you're not like letting out your anger for some reason, like you feel like maybe it's not good, or like a child trauma or limiting belief.
Yeah, it just
Now that anger,
builds.
exactly, like that anger turns into like resentment and it like sours inside of you. Like I think I believe like a lot of it comes from stuff like that. It's like you see this like old person who has like these medical issues and they're like super grumpy and grouchy. It's like, okay, there's more
It's
to
like
it. Even the
what
ones that
happened?
aren't grumpy and grouchy, like the ones that are like passive aggressive, it's like, hey,
Yeah,
you may
no,
be
no, there
holding
is
on to
definitely a
something.
link. No, there's definitely a
Yeah, and
link. Like, you see, like, a lot of people, they have, like, a lot of people are very dogmatic when it comes to food too, just like religion, right?
mhm,
I'm only vegan, I'm only this. Like, one teaching, it's like more of an indigenous teaching, is that, like, when indigenous tribes or communities would, like, most of them were animal based, like they're
mhm,
hunter-gatherers. And one thing I find so wholesome is that when they consume the animal, they consume all of it, literally all of it. So like the
mhm,
meat and organ provides the protein and the vitamins, calories, like the energy. And then they use the skin for clothing. They use the bones for the collagen, and they use the fat for like tallow, but they use
yeah,
all of it. So it makes it more like a more ethical, wholesome approach. It prevents overconsumption, and it's just I find a more wholesome view of eating, but it's also because they're very connected to nature and the animal. And I think also it makes them more connected to themselves, so they can address more these issues, but definitely, like, it's the food, but it's also what we store. So when we talk about consumption, like, it's also what happened in our lives, the emotional and psychological consumption. So it's traumas. It's also what we see in the media, social media. Like, we consume so much in our minds that we can make ourselves sick. And if we don't treat it, like you said, it builds and builds and builds, and it festers. It festers in ways
yeah. I remember, Gabor Mate.
yeah, Dr. Gabor Mate, yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I remember I saw he did like a documentary, and it's weird. Like it's like he makes it free for 1 month, but then for the next 3 months you have to pay for it, which is strange, but whatever. That's another topic. But that 1 month it was free, and I watched it. It was like so interesting, and like a chunk of that documentary was like showing people with cancer who did like psilocybin, like plant medicine ceremonies with him. Like he was the facilitator, and like he shows how after like this one guy specifically he was working with, he had stage 3 cancer, like a really aggressive cancer. And then like I think like after like a year or two of constantly working with plant medicine, the cancer was reversed. Like he was healing and the cancer was like reversing. And I've heard that like so much. Like the shaman I work with for ayahuasca, I remember like I was having a conversation with him, and he's like super well known. Like he's done like tons of them. Like celebrities know him. He's like a really big figure in like that underworld. And he was telling me, I remember like he was telling me like he's seen like so many people with like cancer do ayahuasca and like get healed. Like what's the definition of healed, but like healed from it through ayahuasca, which just tells me it's like a lot of it is like emotional or just stuff that's like lingering in the computer system of your body, and ayahuasca helps you like purge it out or at least process it. And I find like that
Yeah, it's so
processing
interesting.
like makes sense. And also you hear like videos of like, when people, it's like you see those people that are like super old and like near dying, and they're all like, I regret not saying I love you more. I regret not like just being
Yeah,
like
a lot of
straightforward with my
deathbed,
emotions.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I find it's like a big part of it. And for sure you see it. It's like there's times where like let's say me, I'll have like an issue and maybe like I don't address it and I feel it already like the not addressing it, you know, it's like now your mind starts like overthinking. Maybe you start like running all these scenarios in your mind. It causes like a tension, maybe like you know, unspoken tension, some resentment builds up, and that's just like a negative frequency inside your body.
And and if it's untreated, it kind of like metastasizes into like a cancer, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, big time, big time.
Super important. So like you know there are certain like diets that like you ever like you know like you've heard of carnivore, you know, people are very into carnivore,
Yeah.
and that certain individuals who have like chronic disease, who grew up with chronic diseases like eczema or inflammation, when they do switch to like carnivore, it does almost completely reverse itself.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, there are like you said, like people go more plant based. Um, it does help with certain diseases, but that's more the health aspect. It's important to go into that, but not be too dogmatic. Like don't eat eggs, don't eat that. End of the day, it's
Yeah,
whatever works for
that's
you in your situation.
exactly, exactly.
But like, yeah, going like the emotional health, mental health, like it's also what happened in our lives, the traumas, what impacted us. And there's a lot of baggage that we don't deal with. That's the truth. But there's also a lot of fine like subliminal messaging in our media, at least in the Western world, that like, you know, we have so much access to technology, and we have a lot of consumption of subliminal messages and different energies that are negative, and we're always watching and consuming it like a sponge. Like we're sponges just absorbing all that. So like, you know, you go on social media, TV, movies, music videos, magazines, like everywhere, we're just consuming also a bunch of things that like it's not really helping us in our lives. It's just selling us another way to like kind of deal with our problems without actually dealing with them. Like just dealing with the
Yeah,
symptoms.
like I was just going to say, like, you know, in theory, this is like, you know, my opinion. In theory, all that media, it's not bad. What's happening is like you just have this like I don't know what the word is, but it's like if you're constantly looking for something to distract yourself, you know, what are you distracting yourself from? That's like the real question. And then the more you're predispositioned to trying to distract yourself or like, you know, you don't want to like face certain things, the more you lean on, let's say, social media. Like for sure, there's times like feel it like even now where it's like I have like a stress from work that's like been building up in me. And I find how I know there's something off is that like I notice I've been spending a lot more time on social media. You know, I kind of like use it as like a barometer. If I find myself like really diving deep into like, you know, you go into like almost like a K-hole of Instagram or like, you know,
Right.
TikTok, whatever. It's like you're deep into it. I know there's like something that I'm dealing with because when I'm in like my peaceful state of being, it's not even that like social media causes like an issue. Like I'm just like I'm not even as interested. You know what I mean? Like does that make sense?
Yeah, like there's always gonna be, I mean, everything, this is my belief, like everything in this world, at least like where we are, a physical world, it serves a purpose, but it's
Uh-huh.
like cause and effect. So whatever you do or consume or what, it's really like if you do this, there's this effect. And like consequence, I don't want people to confuse. Like consequence doesn't mean like negative. It could mean positive too, right? Positive and negative, but it's just like an effect. So like exactly like you said, like if you go in a doom scrolling like social media, like really like you said, the question is why are you doing that? And then also whatever you're watching, like why are you watching that? Like there's a reason you're watching that
Uh-huh.
specifically because there's something you're not dealing with. Like
A
it's a
hundred
big issue,
percent.
you know.
100%.
There's something super there's a really interesting podcast. I'm sure you've seen it on YouTube. It's called The Diary of a CEO. British guy, you for sure seen it. Diary of a CEO. And he brought in someone. Let me just try
Oh,
find her
yeah,
name.
yeah, I know who is it. It's
Really interesting
Steven
podcast.
Bartlett.
Yeah,
He's like a British
yeah,
guy, right?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. He's British and he has an
Okay, yeah, yeah.
incredible podcast with guests, and like he brought in someone recently, a doctor, about like they're talking about the afterlife and what's it called, near death experience. But that's something else super interesting. It talks about healing,
Super
but
interesting.
he brought someone else. Her name was Vanessa Van Edwards, and she's a communication expert. And you know, the number one thing that she said, like, that Steven asked her, and that she said that really stuck out with me. He asked, like, what's the number one danger of, like, all this technology and overconsumption? And she said it's really because we're always plugged in, we're missing out on, like, genuine human interaction, and we need that as a species, as a human species, to evolve, because it forms a lot of the foundation of who we are, how we regulate emotion. So, like, a lot of things that are random, so to speak. So, like, she gave an example, you go to the gym, you see someone, and then you go to the grocery store, you see the same person, and you have, like, a random interaction with them. She said those random interactions really help build, like, who you are and help us evolve as a species. And also on, like, a more spiritual level, like, of course, like, if you're always plugged in, like you said, you're always consuming things instead of building connections. These connections also challenge you. You have interactions with people. uh,
Mhm.
they really form the base of who you are, and I think that's a big issue. We're always plugged in, so, like, we don't realize what's going on around us. We're distracted, and we're not, like, building genuine connections even with ourselves. So I think it's
Mhm.
really important. We gotta, like, unplug, but also be careful what we watch, because, like you said, whatever we're watching, it's telling us something about ourselves.
Yeah, like I see it like I want to explain it like with like a metaphor. I'm just trying to think of the correct metaphor. Like I'm using like my personal experience, let's say. Like there's times where I'm in this like, this headspace where like if you put Instagram or you put my phone or my laptop next to me, that's it. It's gone. There's like my willpower isn't there. I just can't help but like I'm gonna pick up my phone, I'm gonna chill in bed and just doom scroll for like an hour. But then there's times where like I know when it's like I know the difference when like there's something stressing me or there's something lingering in my mind versus like when I'm clear, like I'll just say like my energy is clear and my space is clear and I've been processing properly, addressing certain things, maintaining boundaries, like being honest. Those keep me in that like headspace, also like maintaining a healthy routine. But I just know that like there's a contrast like in that peaceful headspace. You can put like reels, you can put all of that in front of me and I'm just not gonna like even be interested in it in a way. Like I'm like I don't even think about it. Versus like in some headspaces, it's like I'm just like so drawn to it. But I find like, the whole world, like you don't really know how, like no one really teaches you how to process stuff, how to deal with things. Like, everyone's kind of like figuring it out on their own, and some don't even know that they're supposed to figure it out. So it's like for sure a large part of society is like getting kind of taken advantage of. I find like media is built like that. Like, this is going to capture this attention, because people are angry. So let's put like, let's give them a reason to be angry and like, let's show them like super left videos or super right wing videos and let's pull that reaction out of them.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Yeah.
You're you're hitting it on the head. And yeah, I have a quote from a famous Uruguayan writer, and I think it sums up perfectly what we're touching on. And this is how it goes. It says, "We live in a world where the funeral matters more than the dead, the wedding more than love, and the physical rather than the intellect. We live in the container culture, which despises the content."
Super
That
interesting.
really, like, kind of, like, when I read that, that really stuck out with me, because it's so true. We're in this container culture where we don't deal with the content. We don't want to deal with, like you said, the inside. What's happening on the inside, the content, it's all superficial level. And there's these forces and players at work that are trying to get our attention and to connect with things that are not negative. I mean, they are negative, but these people know that they're going to catch our attention and take advantage of us. And there's a whole system based on that. Maybe we should get into it. We're like, I used to say, I used to say take people as who they are, but now I don't say that anymore. For me, it's more take people where they are, because where a person is, it's going to tell you more of who they are, because who you are, like you said, takes a lifetime to really, if even we even deal with ourselves, and it's really tough to answer that. But I think where you are is more tangible, because where you are in life really is going to determine, like, much of that person's being. Because, example, if you're in the stage where you're building a family, you're very much in a different headspace. If you're in a stage like you're starting a business, you're raising a family, you're taking care of your health. Like where you are in life is very much going to determine who you are in that moment. And who
Mhm.
you are always changes. So that's why I don't say who you are, because it could always change tomorrow. But where you are is maybe more important.
For sure. There was something I wanted to say quickly on that before we moved on. You know, like one thing also, like this is like me, I find like it's like you'll listen to like some of these like podcasters or like you'll listen to some of this media that's like for instance, like a close friend of mine is super like that where they're like the society is like horrible, everything, all the content is like horrible, like it's like polluting, there's like no real men left, there's like women are all confused. But I
It's
find
like, what do you call that? Nihilist, right?
like, but I find like, you know, it's like if you believe, like I find it's like something deeper in the sense of like in a super simple way. Like if I asked you, like, you know, like those like tests, it's like look around in your room for three things that are blue. So you look around for three things that are blue. It's like, okay, well now how many things were red that you didn't even see? So it's like what you're like focusing on, that's the only thing you'll see, but you're missing out on the stuff that you're not focusing on. You know, so it's like if you believe, and it also like something like I've been working on this week, like I've been working on a new blog post, and it's like if you believe, like if you have a negative self-belief, like I'm not worthy, let's say, you're gonna, if you believe it, now you're gonna start to like look for it. You don't even realize you're looking for it and stuff. Like this person said this to me at work, or like a friend said this to me, and in a way like you kind of like it hurts you because you're already kind of like self-rejecting yourself with that belief inside of you. So it's like that belief is like you're looking for confirmation. So like when I hear like my friend, like he's like whenever he talks like that, I always tell him like, you know, like there's so many like there's still so much good. And like another example is I was telling you, like I remember when before I got into plant medicine, try to find a plant medicine shaman. It's impossible. Like you just don't know where it is. But like you get into that world, like once you start interacting with that world, you notice how like it's like someone down your street is a legit shaman. It's like all around you. You just don't even notice it. So
Like you enter in a whole new world and it just changes everything. But you weren't
yeah,
there because it's like we're stuck in our mindset, stuck in our ways.
exactly, and it's the funny thing is that like it's not even a new world. It's the same world. You just didn't notice that was there. It's also it's not even your fault that you didn't notice it. It could be hard to see sometimes, but once you see it, it's like oh my god, yeah, I can't
Yeah,
stop
it's
seeing it.
so true. So true.
Yeah, yeah. So I
It's
find
yeah,
like it's
yeah.
also important to recognize like you know there is still a lot of good. Like check us for instance. Like we're making this podcast. We were
Yeah.
both influenced by other really good podcasts. Like there's really a ton of it out there. It's just like we have to believe it, you know?
Yeah, it's like there's a story. I don't know if it's from the indigenous community or someone made it up or it's true. It could be. I'm not sure the source, but there's like a story where there's an elder talking to a youngster in the community, and then he tells him like there's two wolves inside of you, like one that's light, one that's dark, and you have two of them inside of you. And the youngster, he asks like, okay, so which one do I use, which one do I lean to? And basically the answer was, it's like whatever you act on, whatever you think, whatever you're doing is like that's the wolf that's gonna come and grab onto you, and that's the one you're basically, that's the wolf that's gonna consume you. So like if you're filled with anger and hate and like darkness, then of course the dark one's gonna control you. If it's light, then the light one's gonna control you. It's whichever one you feed more.
Huh.
It's like whatever you feed more, that's what's gonna grab onto you. And it's yeah, it's really like I have a
That's so
question,
funny. That's so funny.
like since we're on this topic, like I have a question. Like, do you think more like people today, like when we talk about mental health, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, do we have more mental health today because there's a connection crisis? Or it was always there, but just like the older, like maybe boomers and older generations, like they didn't really talk about it. Like it wasn't a thing or they weren't aware.
You know, I would say like I feel like they tried. They just they were I feel like their intention was the same intention that we have. They just didn't know like you know they I guess they didn't have like the research or the like
Like the
I'll explain it
tools?
like Yeah, like I'll explain it. I'll try to explain what I'm trying to say with like my dad, for instance. Like my dad has like this deep connection with like learning Torah. But then, as a kid, I always like saw it like, oh, he's learning Torah. It's like very Jewish and everything. But like now as an adult and doing my own work, I'll hear my dad talk about it and I recognize what's happening. Like there's like a sense of community that gets addressed when you're studying with people and going to pray every morning and being part of the Jewish community. And then like, learning Torah, it's like this space, like you're giving yourself like space to meditate in a way and to kind of like regulate your body with like thinking and understanding and philosophy. It's like a tool, like it's like a mental health tool, and then so I find like maybe like some of the previous generations, I feel like 100% their intention is the same intention as ours. They just had different tools. Like, they ended up in different areas that, maybe they're good, maybe they're not the best. Maybe they didn't have as much research. Like now the world is like so connected today. So, there's like so much research being done on certain things. Like, now it's like in your face that like processed foods
Yeah.
is bad. Back then it wasn't so like, it was like people weren't sure. So like a big example, smoking cigarettes. Like 100 years ago, it was like healthy. Like I remember I was watching this like movie, like the King's Speech, and I remember hearing that too in school. Like there was a time in the world where like people were prescribed smoking cigarettes.
So true. So true.
So it's like, okay, like
Crazy.
their intention is, hey, I'm trying to feel better. But like they just didn't have the resources, to understand that, hey, like smoking causes cancer and lung disease. I think it's the same thing.
Wow. That's I never thought of it that way. It's true. It's like they use different tools to get to that. And today I guess we're more direct because we have other tools that really let us just get more to the closer to like the gist of it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting. So, do you think that we can ever be like completely healed and whole again, or we're always gonna have what I like to call like spiritual scar tissue? Because like for me, it's like I don't think we can be whole again. The only time we can be whole again is like let's say we're a baby or we're dead, because it's like restarting
Uh-huh.
life basically. But I think we can have like some scar tissue, and that scar tissue is like a reminder of like our darkness, so to speak, because there's no light without dark. There's no dark without light,
Yeah.
like a yin yang type. But I think also it's like that scar tissue, that trauma becomes your superpower after. So what do you
Okay.
think you can ever be whole? Like you can heal, but can you ever be like completely healed and whole, like back to 100%?
Yeah. So I'll give like it's gonna be a weird answer.
That's okay, bro.
So
Let's get freaky.
like, let's say you perceive yourself as unhealed and you've made certain decisions as a result of this place of being unhealed. But like you don't know the tapestry of life. Like you don't know how that, let's say a bad decision you made or bad decisions or something from that place, you don't realize how it was necessary for your growth later on. Like it's
Hmm.
all part of like, when you look back at life, like when you look at the grand painting of life, it's like, okay, wait, that bad breakup in the moment, it seemed like the worst thing, but like it led me to being with my soulmate. But you wouldn't have been able to meet your soulmate if you didn't have that bad breakup, or if you didn't have like, let's say a traumatic situation happen to you, the growth wouldn't have come from it. Like, um, I'll use like another example of this. I just watched this movie, so good. It's called Hostiles, and it's about like this general in like early America. He's like super against Native Americans. He's like known for like being like a Native American butcher, and then he
Is it
gets
with
asked.
Christian Bale, right?
Exactly. And then he gets
Yeah.
asked to bring this like Native American chief that like he was at war with because he's dying and now he's old. He's been in prison for so long, to bring him to Montana so that he can just live out the rest of his days there. And like the movie starts off with like him hating Native Americans. But then like during that journey, there's like a lot of trauma that happens. Like so many people die, so many hard situations happen. And towards the end of the movie, like you see how like he kind of like he completely changes. Like he's like at the beginning this like hard war veteran, let's say, And the end of the movie, like you see he completely lets go of that identity, and now he like protects them, he saves them, he gives up his old ways. Now he has like he falls in love. Those things wouldn't have happened with both. That type of healing that he had with that chief, it wouldn't have happened if he wasn't like that quote unquote monster towards Native Americans. Like it was part of the story. So I find like it's like being healed or unhealed. It's like you can fight all day long with life, but life is showing you something. Like there's a path in life that's happening, you know? So it's like, let's say
So like,
bad stuff are happening or you're feeling low energy. Like, you know, you could attribute it to certain things, but you don't know. Like it could be part of like the universe's path for you, you know?
yeah, so it's kind of like the analogy that's popping in my head. It's like traumas are like our growing pains. Like, you know, from a kid to like, you know, a teenager when you go through puberty.
Uh-huh.
Like trauma is like our growing pains, and sometimes they're self-induced, like we do it to ourselves. Sometimes it's just that's the course of life, and like it's super necessary because it alters our perception. It's necessary to learn and get to like the next step in life that the universe is pushing us to. Like it's super necessary, and we're always going to go through traumas. Like that's the way life works.
Yeah. For sure. It's so, I'm telling you, like when you do ayahuasca, bring that question in and you're going to be blown away by what you'll see from it. Like just straight up. Like you're going to see some crazy things. Like
For
there's
sure. One
moments,
day.
there's yeah, there's like I remember during I'm getting like a memory pop up of like a situation that I saw under ayahuasca where it was like there was a situation, a decision that I made that like I beat myself up for it for years. But under ayahuasca, I realized like it wasn't even me that made the decision. It was like God made that decision through my body. And like it ended up in like the most beautiful outcome. But I just didn't see it in the moment, you know, like, but in that space, I saw like it was like that decision was like very important, you know, if that made sense.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. Like, I think that's always how life's gonna be. Like, just this is the rule of the universe. It's like there's no such thing as like existence is pain and trauma, but there's good pain, good traumas, and it's like super necessary. It's kind of like a conductor, and it's like that's what's gonna get us moving, basically. Like, that's the conductor of life, like trauma and pain, but like people take it as a negative, and it's both positive and negative, but it's super necessary. Necessary.
Yeah.
Like question, do you think like so do you think that maybe today like mental health is definitely changing like the protocols, like how we deal with our traumas? And like do you think it's necessary, example, to like because like the traditional, like this is what I'm getting to, the traditional psychology is like, you know, you go to a psychologist, you talk about your problems from the past, and then they give you like techniques to kind of like deal with that. Then we have like another philosophy which is more like, no, like the past, nothing's important about the past, just focus on like example like here and now and just what you need to get forward. Or like there's
Yeah.
different approaches, but like do you think like they're basically like they're both necessary, or it's just like what's more necessary, what's more critical? Is there a space for like these philosophies, like a time and space for what's necessary, the past, present, future, like because there's
Yeah.
so many, like there's such a renaissance in right now in plant medicine and mental health. But like in terms of unpacking, let's say unpacking trauma, what's more important, past, present, future? What do you think?
So it's like super tricky, you know, because it's kind of like you know yin and yang. Like both are good, but both could be harmful. It depends how you're doing it. Like you need to stay balanced. For instance, like you have to learn to move forward. That's the law of life. Like everything grows, you know, and you have to focus on growth because you can't, for instance, I'm going to be extreme. Like I'm going to keep it black and white. Like you can't
Go for it.
stay like staying in your bed all day long because, you know, something hurt you when you were like a child. It's not going to do anything. Like that it's not going to heal anything, but you have to but then again like you can't think that okay let me just power through it and focus on my growth without at least processing some of that pain from when you were a child. Like you need both, but you need to like have this the energy that you're kind of using both, it has to be like balanced. Like it can't just be like one way is the ultimate way. You have to like respect both, you know, like For instance, I find like it's super important to look at, childhood trauma because it shapes so much of your life. And a lot of it's like you don't even realize it hurt you. And if you don't process it, you're going to find yourself living a life based on that pain or like trying to avoid that pain. And you don't even realize it. Like it's so subtle how your mind works that like it's so hard to see what you're doing to avoid pain. But you're never going to realize it unless you sit down and look at those traumatic situations. Like, maybe you don't even right now you don't realize, like you tell yourself there's nothing to look at in the past. Nothing was traumatic. Let me just power forward. Like I'm telling you, that's not the way to. I'm very like that's not the way to approach it. At least approach it a little bit. Like you don't need to, like I said, you don't need to stay in your bed all day long for months crying about it. It's not that, but you need to process it. Like I'm telling you, like I had an experience like recently, like over the last few months, where I realized like a certain kind of painful moment I experienced as a kid, it was still lingering in my mind. But I never gave it the proper time to like, sit and acknowledge that like, hey, that hurt me. I find like we typically go like, hey, that hurt, but I'm going to do this and I'm going to avoid that. Like this hurt when I got rejected. So I'm going to do these things to avoid experiencing that rejection. But it's like, no, no, take it down a notch. You're rushing out of the processing part. Like your body's naturally processing. Just sit with the pain, get through it, and then you'll find yourself in a space where it's not even like you have to force yourself. You don't need to push through anything. You realize that once that pain is addressed and you've put awareness on it and you've processed it, it's like the only natural step forward is to grow. So you need both. I don't know if I answered it like clearly, but you need
No, no,
both.
it's I think you're touching on like the gist of it is that like it's a balancing act. Like
Hmm.
there's no one size fits all. It's really like a balancing act because you need all three, like past, present, and future.
Yeah, big time. Big time.
So like on that, how does this renaissance of plant medicine like fit into this world of mental health?
That is a very good question.
Because like there is like these plant medicine, it was always there. It's very ancient, right? It's very ancient, a practice. And when we talk about plant medicine, it's not just plants. It's like the meditation, breathing, like you were talking about Reiki before. It's all the more like holistic, natural, allopathic type of healing, right? Not pharmaceutical per se. So like there seems to be today like a huge renaissance, huge
Hmm.
renaissance. It's all over. So like, where do you think this comes from? Like this renaissance, like what's going on today with that? Because it seems like like we said before, was more like the classic is like you go to a shrink on the couch, you talk about your problems, and then you feel better. But really, like you said, you don't feel better because there's missing the aspect of hope for the future, like and also dealing like being present in the present moment and then hope for the future. It seems like that old school mentality was like stuck in the past, like whatever happened to you. But today there's like incredible like resurgence of like plant medicine and holistic medicine in the mental health world. Although there's like a little bit of a war,
Yeah, for
like I'll
sure.
tell you a little bit where I come from so like it's a bit more clear. Like initially like whenever I saw plant medicine, I thought like these people were nuts. I'm talking like when I was a teenager because I saw people taking these
Yeah,
things and
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like
like
these people,
hippies.
yeah, I'm like these people they're nuts. I'm like they're so altered, they're nuts, like they're not there. But it also came from like a propaganda of the war on drugs. Like no, the only way forward is like the classic traditional therapy. Like I just
Hmm.
described, the shrink on the couch. But they never showed the other side, like the benefits of plant medicine and holistic medicine. They never showed you the other side. It was like war on drugs type mentality. But also I was turned off because of the what I saw people using it. But those people were abusing the medicine because they had stuff going on. Like after a lot of like you said going through life and experience and education, I'm like, no, no, this plant and holistic medicine, there is a purpose and there is a space for that. And today it's super trending and popular. So like, where do you think like this renaissance comes from?
Yeah, I'll give you like a few responses. Like I'll just say 2 points. Like, it's like if you like it's super important that you experience things yourself. Like for instance, like I'm gonna keep it like super simple as well. If you listen to the news, you're gonna think that people from South America are like criminals because that's how the media is portraying people from South America. Like
So true.
They make it seem like you'll hear like Trump and like the presidency, they talk about it, and it's like they make it seem that it's like only vicious criminals, like South
But it's
Americans
true.
are vicious criminals.
It's true,
But
bro. I
then
am a vicious criminal.
you big time, big time.
Bro, I'm a don.
Yeah. So it's like if you listen, if that's like your source, you're gonna be dependent on whatever their kind of agenda is, and you're gonna start believing like, okay, people from South America are evil criminals. It's the same thing with like Nazi Germany. Like there was so much propaganda against Jews. I'm sure you went up to a kid and you were like, hey, what do you think of Jews? And they're gonna be like, oh, they have horns. I'm not even kidding. I know someone who told me that they did business with this guy in Ukraine, and Eastern Europe is like super anti-Semitic, like
Yeah,
crazy. And
yeah,
he was telling me that he did business with this guy from Ukraine for like 3-4 years. And then they finally met up. Like, they had like a dinner, they had like a business meeting, and then they went for dinner. And then, like, my friend didn't order non kosher meat. So that guy, like, his business partner from Ukraine asked him, like, hey, why aren't you ordering meat? Like, you don't eat meat? Like, you're vegan? And he's like, no, no, I'm Jewish. I just don't eat non-kosher meat. And the guy was like on the floor. He was like, I swear I thought Jews had horns. Like he was like that's how far it is. So I think it's super important. Like, people try it for themselves and like, learn about it themselves. There was another point I was gonna say, I forgot. But just to talk about like the resurgence of plant medicine, like the Renaissance, I believe, like I've seen not podcasts, documentaries about ayahuasca from like a long time ago, like from the early 2000s. And the thing about why it's so prevalent today is that like back then, for you to do ayahuasca, you had to literally fly to Peru, find someone. There wasn't like Google reviews, there wasn't any of that. You had to like know, like, how do you even know about finding the right shaman? It was like impossible. But like that one person who knew of this really honest and true shaman, and that shaman had to be open to doing it. Like back then it was very tight knit. Like you couldn't just do it. A long time ago, I think the tribal communities weren't allowed to do it. It was only the healer of the community that was allowed to do it. So it all changed. Nowadays it's so like so out there. When you're in that world, like it's so accessible and you see so many people talking about it, is because like technology and then community too. Like now you can easily fly to Peru, and there's so many retreat centers that have like so many testimonials. There's like a retreat center, for instance, that like Gabor Mate goes to. So, it's like if you trust Gabor Mate, if you're like a follower, if like, he has a credibility that works for you, you can go to the you can go to the retreat center that he backs. Like there's all this information, and the accessibility it's much more easier nowadays. So I find like that's why like a lot more people are doing it and a lot more people are talking about it. And like honestly, half the podcasts that I've seen, there's always someone that goes on and is like, oh, I just did ayahuasca, and shares their experience. So that's why I think it's good that it's popping up, is because like it's more easily accessible because of technology and like the world today.
so interesting. When you said that, you reminded me of there's a psychologist. Well, he's a researcher, but in psychology, not therapist, but he's in the world of psychology, and his name was Benny Shannon, I think, Jewish psychologist, and he was doing ayahuasca. I'm talking like in the early 2000s, like you said, when it was unknown. And he would go to these tribes and he was doing research on it. And his experience and what he describes is really incredible. Like one thing he said that really stuck out with me is that he's like, I have no connection to South America or that world, but when I was taking ayahuasca and other plant medicine, I was seeing what they were seeing, like jaguars and snakes and things he's like that I've never experienced really, like it's kind of like what he was experienced was in that region, like very much where he was at, and very interesting. Like he was one of the pioneers who like was doing it when it was like taboo or not known, especially in the psychology world.
Hmm.
But today it's like you said, it's a bit everywhere. So maybe the Renaissance because we have access to it and it's more popular.
For
But
sure.
like, so do you think, so I have two questions on that. Do you think we can abuse plant medicine? And is it like a bad thing that it's everywhere?
That is a good question, but it's like it's tied to that kind of question you asked earlier. It's like your kind of energy, like is Instagram. Like, is a bottle of alcohol, can you sit in a room, like, an alcoholic, can they sit in a room with a bottle of alcohol there? It's like there's something within the person too that needs to be like addressed, because there's a space where, for instance, me, where if there's Instagram, I'm gonna use it, and there's times where I use it a lot, but there's other times where, like, where I'm in this more kind of peaceful state where I'm not interested in it. And I also, like, also in general, like, I have my limitations. Like, I know, let's say I use like Instagram an hour or two per day, and that's it. Like, I set a limit of an hour per day. So it's like I'm able to balance it, but I'm also in like a right headspace. But I do think, like, the point I was trying to make is like, it's like there's all these, like, like a hammer, it could hurt you or it could build a house. It's just you have to like know how to use it, and you have to like understand yourself too. Like, there's a lot of spiritual bypassing. Like, I've experienced spiritual bypassing. Like, I don't think anyone who's done plant medicine hasn't experienced it.
What do you mean by spiritual bypassing?
Spiritual bypassing is like, let's say there's like an issue, and I'm just going to keep it simple. And you're like, okay, I need to do more plant medicine. Like, that's how I'm going to solve this issue. I'm going to do more plant medicine. Or, it's like, or you tell yourself, like, here's a good spiritual bypassing. Like, something's making you mad, and you're not addressing it, and it's creating resentment. But how you spiritual bypass is by telling yourself, like, no, I shouldn't be mad. I need to be peaceful. Like, this is the ego talking. It's not really me. The ego's trying to make me this mad person. You know what I mean? Like, when situations like that happen. But it's
Yeah, it's
like,
like you're
no,
convincing yourself.
exactly, exactly. It's like you're getting away from, let's say, setting your boundaries, which could be challenging. So it's like, or having like a really uncomfortable conversation, you like bypass it like that. Like, oh, you know what? You convince yourself that out of having that conversation, or out of addressing certain things, and you kind of use spirituality to bypass it. So I do find, like, you could be susceptible, like, there's stuff to be susceptible to when it comes to like plant medicine and ayahuasca. Although I do believe, like, let's say ayahuasca, for instance, like, it's so powerful. Um, it puts you on like a learning path. Like, for instance, the first, like, you go to one ceremony and you're resisting, you go to another ceremony and you're resisting. This, I'm talking from experience. It's like, I went to one ceremony, I was resisting a lot. So I felt like, oh, this is what the ceremony was teaching me, and this and that and this. Then I go to another ceremony, and again it's like, yeah, this was great, like, it taught me this. But then I went to the third ceremony. Obviously it's not like one by one, it was all spaced out. But when I did this third one, like, I realized how the first two I was bypassing. Like, I was resisting a truth. And like, once I surrendered to it, it completely changed, I don't know if that
Oh,
answered it.
so it's like so so if let's say someone's looking, example, like for like a shaman or a healer or curador, a healer, like
Yeah.
what makes a shaman like a good shaman, and like what should someone look for? Like example, you're looking to go in that world, but like you want to have some sort of criteria. It's um like not just going trusting anyone blindly, because like you said, you could abuse certain medicines. There's a lot of charlatans too. But like,
That's
so what should someone look for in a shaman? Like, what makes a good shaman? And on that, who is this not for? Like the plant med and the holistic healing, like who shouldn't be in that world? And what makes like a good shaman, a good healer?
okay. I love this question. Like, amazing. Um, because I wrote up a blog post, but I haven't posted it yet. So let me just pull information from there.
Corporate secrets.
But because it's so important, and like, I've had like a lot of experience with plant medicine and different healers. So this is like, I find it so important.
Yeah, because it's like it's everywhere, the Renaissance, right? But
Uh-huh.
the thing is, it's like there's not much direction on like what makes a good shaman, a good shaman, a good healer, and like who should not be taking plant med and who should not be in this world of that world.
Yeah. So I find, like, for me, and if someone was asking me this exact question, like a friend was like, hey, can you give me advice? Like, I'm trying to find a shaman. The first thing I would say is like, the outer world of a person reflects their inner world. So you want to find like a shaman that is like living what you believe is a balanced life. Like, for me, for instance, a balanced life is someone who has a healthy relationship, like, a partnership or a healthy relationship, or at least healthy relationship dynamics. They don't need to be like married and perfect, but they just need to have like a positive kind of outlook, that like let's say towards women or men or dating in general. They have to have like a healthy outlook. They have to have like, a balance. Like, are they, I'll keep it like this. Like, are they in a healthy relationship, or do they have a healthy attitude towards relationship? Do they have a source of income? Do they have like a decent source of income? Do they have friends? Do they have like a healthy lifestyle? I look for all those things. Like, because I find when one area there's an imbalance, it reflects an imbalance within the person. And then you can find, like, keeping it simple, like, maybe if they're doing it out of like an imbalance of financial reasons, you're going to feel an energy that this is more about money, for instance. So it's super important to find someone that's balanced. And I don't want it to be like you can't just work with someone who's rich. You just need to look at their attitude towards money. Like there's some people that like they're pushing for clients, they're really pushing you to come back. Like you can feel that there's this need for money. And then there's times where I've worked with, like, for instance, like the shaman I work with for ayahuasca, you just feel like, you just feel the guy doesn't care about money. He doesn't, it's not even an issue for him. Does he have a lot of money? Does he have no money? It doesn't matter. It's not like a need. So because he has that clear space, you come into that ceremony, like you can come in more present versus someone that's maybe they pushed you to come because, they needed to fill up their spot, and they have goals to hit. But when a shaman doesn't have that goal, like, they don't have that need, you really feel it. So that's why it's important. Like, you want to work with someone that, like, they don't need you as a client. They don't need you to fill anything within them. You're there, you're there to just be yourself. And you see it a lot. Like, I find, like, I've worked with shamans that they're building up their business, so they kind of have, like, I felt like this, they have like an insecurity of doing it right. They have like this kind of like energy of charging a lot of money because they're trying to make it their only source of income. So they're kind of like dependent on it. They're dependent on you. They ask you to bring other people versus like there's shamans that you can come to them. They don't care. Like, they don't even ask you to come back. Like, they're there if you need them. That's when I find like a shaman is like balanced like that. Like, that's what I mean by balance. It's like the healing is just incredible. Like, they really, those types of shamans really create like a real special container for you to go super deep within yourself.
Wow. So it's like you need to connect with them subjectively, like where you are in your life, but also they need to guide you like objectively for what's good for you, but also like in general, like a more objective way. That person, like you said, needs to have that healer or shaman needs to have like a balanced life for what works for you, but also them. Like it needs to feel authentic, not like marketing, so to speak.
Exactly. And then like I was saying, it's like if you find a shaman doesn't have like healthy relationships, then you have to wonder why they don't have healthy relationships. And then you'll see, like, for instance, like one shaman that I used to work with, like, I felt kind of like a weird energy. And then I realized, like, I noticed that they had like a very kind of misogynistic attitude towards relationships. So like that imbalance, it kind of bleeds into the energy of the ceremony.
Who shouldn't like so who shouldn't take plant medicine and who shouldn't join these type of holistic plant healing? Like who is it not for?
So do I think it's for everyone? Like, that's a very good question.
Or like who shouldn't be taking this stuff or who shouldn't be in this world, in the plant medicine healing world?
Like, so I come from the group of people who really believe it's for everyone, but I will say, like, it has to be kind of taken seriously. And I'm saying that in terms of like medication. Like, you can't just people that have, like, let's say bipolar disorder or like disorders that require medication, it's very important that, like, you don't mix those two things. So, like, I know that's like a pretty kind of square answer. I'm trying to think, like, who would I not suggest?
Like
Like, if I
people who
met
have
someone,
like a lot of medical conditions, maybe like you said, psychological, like severe mental
yeah.
condition, bipolar disorder or schizophrenia type.
Yeah, like, I think people that are more susceptible to that, or they already have those conditions, I would say, like, work with, like, maybe don't just jump into it. I would say ease your way into it because it could be a lot. The first time I did ayahuasca, and I don't see myself as someone who has like schizophrenia or anything of that sort, but I can see how you can really get like lost in it because it's super intense. Like you're seeing visuals and you're feeling such deep understandings that like it can really shake up your being. So yeah, it just needs to be taken seriously in that sense. But I do feel like it really is for everyone. Like, um, it's really it connects you with yourself, and it. Damn, bro, that's a good ass question. It's like really
Because you know
like
what? You know where I'm coming from with this is that, since we said there's this renaissance and it's a bit, it's everywhere, the plant healing, like it's advertised a bit everywhere if you have social, right? So like, you don't hear a lot of like who shouldn't be taking it. It's kind of like sold as a one size fits all, but there's never that caveat like if you're not authentic or if you have this, that, like don't take it. It's more like, no, just come one, come all. So I'm kind of coming from like, there's clear benefits to this practice and the substance you take, but like the caveat is basically like, but maybe it's not for you if you're dealing with XYZ.
yeah. I have like a funny way of answering this is let's say I would ask you like who would you tell not to do martial arts?
Bro,
It's hard. It's hard, because like
depends the purpose, I think.
yeah,
Like depends what you're looking for.
it's such a good question. I
So
think
is there like, so sorry to cut you off, but like this ties into it all. Maybe I'd love to hear your insight is like does religion have a place in this world? Like is there a difference between religion and spirituality? And like does religion have a space in the plant medicine like holistic healing world? Like can they coincide or it's more like they're separate things? So like can anyone come from any background or there could be a little contradiction or like religion is one thing, spirituality is another, or can they coincide? Can we synchronize it, or it's two different things?
yeah. It's funny. The answer for the previous question just popped into my mind as you were saying this, so I'll say it quick. I think it's my stance is that it's everyone can do it, but what the difference is that the way of easing into it is different for that's what's different. Like I would say it's open to everyone, but people need to like, some people they might need to do a little bit of therapy first before they go into it, especially people with those predispositions to like, schizophrenia or like those types of thoughts. But then there's other people that you can really get a sense that like they're more ready for what healing is about to come up during the ceremonies because it could be intense. That's what I'll say there. I think it's open for everyone, but just the degree of how you ease into it is the difference. Maybe next time we talk, I'll give you more insight on how to tell if someone needs to do a little bit of therapy first. But I feel like that's the answer I'm going to go with. And then when it comes to religion and spirituality, they both actually coincide very well with each other. Similar to what we were saying before, where it's like, should someone look at their past or just keep moving forward? Like I find both like you can't just say no to one and yes to the other because then you're just doing the same thing. Like you're rejecting one is not the approach. Important aspects of both, and when you're balanced in both, it's super it's like 10 times more. It's like working in a team. It's like instead of being one versus the other, now you're both together. Um, like for instance, I've had like really deep experiences with Judaism under plant medicine. I know some people that like it completely changed their life. Like a good friend of mine didn't do Shabbat before plant medicine, but when they did it, like every time I remember I spoke with them, like every time they did ayahuasca, they were like shown the true, like a deep beauty about Shabbat. So like for them, it just like, and this is like me giving my outside perspective. Like before going to their house for like, like the meal for Shabbos, it was one way. And I know for a fact that after they did ayahuasca, it was like different. And is it different that now they have payas and they're rocking side by side when they're praying? No, no, no. It's not that. Like you can feel the sacredness. Like there was the degree of sacredness regarding like, Shabbat was different before and after. So I think it's important for both, but then again, it's different for everyone. Like for instance, I didn't get the Judaism that I experienced on it wasn't about like the beauty of Shabbat or the beauty of Shabbos and spending time with family over like the Kiddush meal. I didn't experience that. I experienced other things, and then I've met other people that experienced other things as well. Like a friend of mine saw how like important it is to do the mikveh, like cleansing. So now it's like you feel it's not even like it's like a like they it's like they're like in love when they do it. They're like you can feel the love they have. And I find like plant medicine really brings it up. So I think it's important for both. For sure, like for me, I have like a different take on it. Like I think I went more like spiritual versus like Jewish. Like I was saying, like my a few people I know they went deep into Judaism. I have like a respect for it, but I just feel more connected to like something beyond. Like I'll give you an example of my ceremonies to show you more of what I experienced, and I don't know, it might sound like a little bit intense for some people. So when I was younger, I had a dream. Let's say when I was a teenager, I had a sleep paralysis kind of dream where I woke up and I was walking in my room and I saw my tefillin. This is like before I did plant medicine. It's like a dream that I had and I remembered. It happened like 2 or 3 years before I did plant medicine. So I remember I got up in my room and I was walking and I just see my tefillin on the table. That was the dream, like nothing else. Fast forward, I do a ceremony. I do a plant medicine ceremony and I revisit that dream. But when I woke up in it, the tefillin were solid gold. And I understood that my dad poured out a lot of love in making sure that I got like the best pair of tefillin. That's why in like a spiritual sense, like in this physical world, the tefillin were like the regular tefillin. In the spiritual world, where I felt that space I was in, the tefillin were pure gold because of that love and effort my dad poured into it. Then you fast forward and I have an experience under ayahuasca where I feel like I'm having a direct connection with God. And in this connection, it's gonna sound weird, but I was in I found myself in the Amazon rainforest and I'm standing with God by the edge of a river. And God is like, he took the form of this like Native American man. Also kind of like it looked like me a bit, like it was like the same height and kind of like the same face, but more Native American. And when I was talking to him, I realized I was holding the pair of tefillin in my hands and they were like solid gold. And he looked at me and he was like, I want you to know something. If you choose to wear those tefillin, I'll love you forever. If you choose to throw those tefillin into the river, I'll love you forever. It's all your choice. So I took the tefillin and I threw it into the river. And then it was just like such a beautiful moment. It was like something like that happened. And then I felt like, I told God, like, hey, I don't like, I felt like I had this choice. And what stuck out for me is that because it happened a few times where it's like there's emphasis, like you're loved regardless of this choice. And I want you to know, I love you regardless of these choices. So I took the choice of let me throw this into the river and let go of it. And when I threw it into the river, I still felt that amazing love. And honestly, that's a lot of my attitude in life. I would say that for me, it's like a benefit is that I have this knowing. It's not like I hesitate. I have a knowing that whatever decisions I make, God loves me. So that's kind of my attitude towards things. And it's a little bit, I know for instance, my dad would be like, "What the fuck?" if he heard me say this story. But I know it's some people would be like, "Yo, that's crazy," or "That's bullshit," or "That's obviously not true." But that was the experience that I had, and that's how it shaped my experience. So also the big thing to point out is that in my experience, God wasn't like Judaism is bad or good. He just told me, "Hey," that's all he said. If you choose to put them on, I love you. If you choose not to put them on, I love you. It doesn't matter for me. I love you regardless. My love for you is infinite.
Incredible. So when you talk about God, like, what do you think, like, what is God? Like, and what does he want?
Okay, so in my opinion, you're God, and life is you reconnecting with yourself. There's so many beliefs that you have, so many experience pulled you away from being your true self and being in alignment with your true self. And God, like, I'll share this imagery because this is how I've seen it. Actually, like, I did an MDMA ceremony, and this came to me. So there's me, and then there's a higher self of me. God is connected to that higher self. Like, I was in a vault and someone pulled me out of that vault. Like, this is a vision I had, and somebody pulled me out of that vault, and I saw it was myself. Like, actually, like, the person who pulled me out was me, and I was looking at myself and I was like in absolute awe of myself. Like, I'm like, wow, like, so beautiful, so like amazing. And then I understood, like, we were at the beach. I was there standing with myself at the beach, and I look up and I see the sun, and out of the sun a wire flies out, and the wire connects into my higher self. So, like, I understood that, like, God, he can't connect with us, but what he could do is he connect with your higher self. So when you align yourself with your higher self, you connect with God. Obviously it gets trippier than that, because what does it mean to connect with your higher self? Again, you ask me, what does that mean? I say, you are already your higher self, and becoming your higher self is realizing and accepting yourself. Because you already are your higher self. You just don't accept parts of yourself. And you don't, for instance, like shadow work, like there's a lot of stuff that you reject or you have a judgment towards. There's pains that you're trying to avoid. So you make decisions based on those, all because you're avoiding yourself, you know? Like, for instance, like something that, like, I was thinking about recently is, like, I had a situation at work, and the person, like, it caused a frustration in me. And then, like, and then I shared my frustration, and I said, like, hey, this frustrates me a lot, and we need to, like, I need it to address this. And whenever I addressed it, like, always positive things come out. But before, I wouldn't address it. Like, I would convince myself not to talk about it.
So like, so you and God, it's not, you're not disconnected. Like, it's not two separate identities. What do you think? So like, how did this world, like, I'm going back to maybe like a creationist question, like, how do you think this world came to be? Like how did this world, like, obviously there's no answer, we don't really know, but like, how did this world get created? Like, or who or what? Like, how did it come to be? Is there like a force behind it, or is it us? Was it always like that? Like, what do you think?
So for sure, these are my opinions. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm not giving,
Does
like,
it,
this is the answer, in case someone's reading it or listening to this and they're like, oh,
no,
it's
no, we
like
speak freely.
yeah. So, like I said, like, there's no two identities. There's only one identity. And that one identity is creating all of this for it to learn something or for it to experience something. Like, I told you before that, like, I did a ceremony and I realized, like, there was a decision I made when I was younger, and I was beating myself up for that decision for years. But then during that ceremony, I was able to see, like, no, that decision was so important for my life. And on a very deep spiritual level, I realized I didn't even make that decision. Like, God made that decision. It's a really, like, I know it's a bit like funky, but that's where I'm saying, like, it wasn't like, it's like you create all these lessons for yourself. God
Okay.
created this for his expansion and growth. So I find, like, I don't know, I'm having, like, a hard time kind of, like, taking
But
the
it's a tough
the answer
question.
out
There's no,
of my head. It's like,
like, very
I'm trying
broad,
to
you know?
give yeah. I find the reason why it's hard because it's a super abstract question.
It's very tough. So maybe like I can target it this way. If you had to give like one sentence, what's the purpose or meaning of life? Like in one sentence.
That's a good question. I would say where I'm at now, my answer would be the meaning of life is, like, growth and expansion and experiencing growth. And I'm sure when I'm going to be in a different place in my life, it might be different. But I feel like like, the meaning of life is to grow and learn through these experiences. And it might not be for you to grow, it might be for something beyond, bigger than you. I remember I did one ayahuasca experience where, like, I was dating this girl for about, like, 6 months, And I wrote this is on like one of the posts on my website, so it's there for anyone to read. But like I shared how there was a point in our relationship where we had like it was like the peak of our relationship. Like we did a weekend trip. It was like super amazing. Like I remember like smiling and laughing the whole time. But there was a point that hit me that I was like, you know what? I know this isn't gonna work out long term. But I was too afraid to address it directly. So what happened was like 2 or 3 months went on where, I started to kind of like hold back a bit. It caused like, more insecurity in the relationship. And then eventually it led to like a, let's say not the most cleanest breakup, like it was like it wasn't like
It
in
was.
a good place. Yeah, it was a bit turbulent because I avoided the conversations. Like
Hmm.
I knew I avoided those conversations. And when I did that ayahuasca ceremony, it was like crazy. I was shown being murdered. Like I felt someone putting me, I was it like again, it sounds crazy. I was being like kidnapped by mafiosos,
God.
driven out to the desert in Nevada, and they threw me into
Pit?
a pit, like a burial. Like they dug the tomb for me and they threw me into it. And then I remember vivid feeling. Like this was very vivid. I was looking up and I was looking at these two guys, and one of them lifted up the shovel and he slammed it on my neck. And I felt
Jeez.
it. Like I really felt that okay, my neck is broken, and I felt like my life extinguished during the ayahuasca ceremony. But I was so peaceful. And I remember saying like, wow, that was ayahuasca was like, what did you think of that experience? And I was like, I'm going to be honest, that was actually a very beautiful and peaceful experience. And it was like, that's cool. That's cool. Let me show you this experience. And it brings me into my apartment with that girl I was dating at the time in the exact moment where I knew it wasn't going to work out long term. And I was so resistant to having that conversation. I was more resistant to that than to the dying. Like it was so uncomfortable for me. It was more uncomfortable than sitting through that scene of death to have that conversation with her. And then I surrendered and like I had the conversation and I witnessed myself telling her like, hey, I need to share something with you. Like, the last few months have been amazing. And like, I love this connection that we have, but I have to be straightforward and share that I don't see us working out long term. And with that, I need to like, I want us to not in like a question way, like, and with that, I'm going to trust myself and like, I'm going to be ending this relationship. And that's why I'm ending it. And it was like, you see, like you were honest. Like that's the honesty. You don't see it working out long term. What happened is like I avoided it and I created karma, which is suffering. And the karma looks like this. She texts me, I don't answer as quick as I normally do. Now she starts thinking, what did she do wrong? Did she do something to turn me off? Now she has this suffering within her. Then there's suffering within me, all because I avoided being truthful. Like, I avoided the lesson the universe wanted me to go through. And then when I surrendered to it in the ceremony, I remember being like, okay, I'll have the conversation. And I walked into the room and I had the conversation with her, and then it ended. And then ayahuasca said, like, look how beautiful that is. Like, does it hurt? Yes, it hurts. Of course it hurts. Like, a connection is broken now. Like, you guys were so used to each other and this, now that changes. So there's for sure pain and grief, but both can grow from it. Like you can move on and she can move on with this directedness. So I was like, okay, wow, like it's so important to be direct. Like that was a beautiful lesson. But then the point I'm trying to say is that I woke up like during the ceremony, I woke up into this world beyond, and there was this woman that was like there. It was in a vision. And I said something about like I asked, I forgot what I asked, but that woman just shared like, hey, it's super important for you to go through these hard moments. And it's not even about you. You're resisting it so much, but you don't even see the grand scheme of things. Like God is trying to learn something. And it's important that you go through these uncomfortable moments because he believes the answer is hidden in those uncomfortable moments. So it's like your duty as a human to go through those. Like it's not even about me. Like, I'm trying to make it like, oh, but it's super uncomfortable and I don't want to do this to the person. And why do I have to experience this? But she was like, hey, like, you don't see it yet, but just know it's not about you. There's something much more greater happening that it's hard for you to see now, but you need to know that. Don't avoid uncomfortable situations. It's selfish if you avoid them. Like, you need to go through it, and it's like your duty to go through it for the expansion of God and the universe. That's like
Wow, like wow, those is like incredible, super powerful experiences, and
yeah,
I understand why you say like it's not for everyone. Like some people can do this and go insane, but it's super transformative as well. Like these powerful plant medicines and this healing journey. It's wow, it's incredibly powerful. Like thank you
yeah.
for sharing that. And so like, can you get to those levels without plant medicine? Like, is it possible to get there? Like without any plant medicine? Maybe other ways?
100%, 100%. What happens when you do these ceremonies for a long time? You see all they're trying to do, and like all these plant medicines, what they're trying to help you and show you is that like, hey, you can do this. For I'm gonna use the example I just shared. Like, you don't need to come here for us to tell you, hey, if you're not interested in this relationship, be straight up with a person, you know? It's like, but again, they're helping, like those plant medicines, they help you see it, and it's hard for you to see it. So it is important. But then after, you learn the lesson, like for me, for instance, like, was it like super important for me to learn that lesson? Amazing. And like, I'm forever grateful for ayahuasca for putting me through that. Like, it was so uncomfortable. I can't even explain how uncomfortable it was. Like, I was resisting it for maybe 2 hours to sit through that, just so you know. But like, it's such an uncomfortable thing that maybe ayahuasca was like a really helpful way for me to see it. But like, look at the lesson. Was it like a far out lesson? No, the lesson is, if you're not interested in someone, be straightforward and don't create unnecessary suffering. Just be
Uh,
honest. That's the lesson. So do you need ayahuasca to learn that? I don't think so. Maybe life, or if you have like a good therapist, or maybe you're really good and you gain awareness. No, because it's a simple lesson, but it is super, like, I was super resistant, and I feel like ayahuasca was the best teacher to show me that lesson. I knew I wouldn't have felt it through conversation with a therapist. Like, I also find like life teaches you things on its own, like, if someone doesn't ever do ayahuasca, it's fine. They're still going to learn a lot of deep spirituality throughout their life. It's inevitable. Like, life is spiritual, but it is like super nice. Like, it is super nice and beautiful. Also, like, you can experience it, and I'm someone that really likes to learn from experience. Like, would a therapist have made me feel like that? Like with a vision and stuff,
I
it
don't know. Uh,
wouldn't have been the same.
Probably not. Probably not, but I
Exactly.
mean, I guess
Exactly.
you can get to deep levels without it, but this really opens it up like easier, kind of like a highway. If
It's
you if
powerful.
you
It's
went
very
back,
powerful.
you went back, let's say, and you had 30 seconds, okay? And you went back to like let's say your childhood, like you're talking to your child self. I don't know, maybe you're like 8 or 10 years old, let's say. Like you're not a baby, you're a child, and you only had like 30 seconds and you can only tell your younger self something for 30 seconds, but that's the only time you'll be able to tell your younger self something like for the rest of your life. Like what
Wow,
would you
that's
say in those
so
30
nice.
seconds? Like your younger self, you have 30 seconds, what would you tell them?
Wow, that's a freaking beautiful question. I would tell them, like, honestly, if I could go and I have 30 seconds, I would tell them, like, you're like, how to word this properly? Like, I would try my best to convey the message of like, you're good, and like, you're already so lovable and perfect, in the sense of like, trust yourself, believe in yourself. If something doesn't feel wrong, trust that it doesn't feel wrong. Like, you're worth standing up for, you're worth setting boundaries for. Like, you're extremely like lovable from the second you were born. You're already lovable. And trauma and experiences, let's say for me, I kind of got confused with that and I lost that. But I would tell myself, I guess also, you don't know that when you're a kid. You're like fresh and no one kind of teaches you that so directly. I would try to teach myself that directly. Like, I would try my best to teach myself to love myself in 30 seconds. That's my answer. Levy.
If I had 30 seconds and had to tell my child self, I would say laugh more, love more. Don't take life so serious. Everyone has to walk different paths and we all add color to the paintings. You're a different color to the painting and everyone else has to add their color. Don't be so rigid. Be flexible. Trust yourself more. Live more.
Yeah.
And, uh, and yeah, and just build what brings you happiness, build what brings you purpose, and you're stronger than you think. Be kind, it's free. Just live to the fullest you can with what aligns with you, and just kind of like say everything's gonna be okay. Don't worry about it. You know, every high has its lows, every has its high. You're riding the wave, just ride it. Just ride it and enjoy it, and that's it. Just give a big hug and yeah, send him on his way.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I would say like similar messaging, like I was saying, like I would say like love. I would try to convince love yourself in like 30 seconds, and then I would end it with invest as much as you can in Bitcoin, like the second it comes up.
Well, you're trying to do Back to the Future. That's insider trading, man.
Like love yourself and buy Bitcoin, and that's it. It's like nothing else.
NFTs, it's all about NFTs.
Legit, legit. But that was amazing. I think let's end it out there. It's almost 2 hours that we've been talking, so it's a lot of editing for
Yeah.
me. But Levy, thank you so much.
Damn,
This was so good.
new skill
Yeah, and
unlocked.
exactly. And this was like this is just the first one. Like we'll definitely have more.